So this is going to be a rather quick review. GTA 5 is coming out tomorrow, and I'm really excited for it. So GTA 4 is, for one final day, the latest entry in the series of Grand Theft Auto. And I guess this isn't really going to be that long of a review. Basically, it's going to be more so just a defense of this game because this game got, critical reviews that were amazing. A lot of people said it was perfect. I wouldn't be surprised if those were paid off. Grand Theft Auto 5 is already getting 10 out of 10s and stuff. Wouldn't be surprised if those are paid off either. But that said, this is a damn good game. Which a lot of GTA fans from like San Andreas and Vice City and stuff don't really think so. But I have to disagree with that because, they had solid characters. The open world gameplay was phenomenal. They did kind of fuck up with the friendship system thing. That was really intrusive and annoying, which they fixed with the DLC, which I might come back and review later. But the one thing that I guess people also didn't like too is the realism, or the attempted realism. I thought it was phenomenal, and it was pretty groundbreaking. So, I say this a lot to people. Grand Theft Auto 4 would have been loved by nearly everyone if it wasn't called GTA. All of the GTA fans would have loved it and whatnot, but just because it was called GTA, San Andreas, and actually just pretty much San Andreas's, standards were right behind them. And since this was, earlier on in the, new generations, or I guess this generation's lifespan, they couldn't really do the huge open world and have all the features that San Andreas did. Mainly because they're working with new, more powerful hardware that they weren't really as familiar with. But that said, the open world and the stuff they do have in here is pretty amazing. Not to mention the online. This is probably my most played online game. I'm really willing to say I've put more than 200 hours into this game just in the free mode stuff alone. It's phenomenal, especially with friends. The online, you can just find so much shit to dick around with and do, and you can race around, you can get into fights and stuff, and just learn how to have awesome helicopter fights, and there's just so much stuff to do, and I'm so excited for what they're gonna, do to improve upon it in GTA 5. But I should probably stop referencing GTA 5 since this isn't a GTA 5 review. But I think this game gets a lot more hate from Grand Theft Auto fans than it really deserves. I guess I'll say this, or I'll add upon this too. The realism stuff was pretty cool for the time, because of the Call of Duty stuff and the things that, like, the FPS craze that kind of come afterwards. Looking back, it might not seem that great, but the fact that you died in a couple shots and you couldn't just go gun blazing into every situation was pretty new and intriguing. It was kind of a thing like, whoa, you have to actually kind of think a little bit about how you fight and stuff like that. And when you shot people, they didn't actually die right away. Like, they didn't have like a set amount of health. They kind of, bled to death on the ground, which was a nice touch that I guess not many people really cared for. But I was thinking, this is pretty gritty and just kind of shows how fucked up gang violence is and all that. And really, I think that's the whole point of this game. This game is a deconstruction of the rest of the Grand Theft Auto series. I don't want to be too spoilery, but I guess I'll just say, in most Grand Theft Auto games, people get away with the crimes, or, it's kind of bittersweet. This game is a full-on downer for everyone involved. Like, nobody comes out on top in this. Everyone who is involved with illegal activity gets, pretty fucked up, or, screwed over by the end of this game. And I love it for that. It's such a brutal look at the American dream and just the Grand Theft Auto games before it. And I thought it was just so original and new, but I think it flew way over the target audience's head, which is why not many people respected it. Because it's as weird as it sounds, this game is kind of intellectual. I mean, everyone who's doing gang activity stuff, kind of is in a poor mental state, and they kind of, suffer the consequences. There's even a point where someone says something like, the amount of cops you've killed alone is a terrible tragedy, and you're probably one of the worst serial killers in history, or something to that effect, which is so true. Um, Oh, also, there's two endings, and both of them are really depressing, which I thought was amazing because you go back to like play the other one after you get the first one, and you assume it's going to be better, but it isn't. They're both just really bad. It's just different flavors of bad. So I love that too. The two DLCs they have kind of are more over the top and more San Andreas like, I guess, but at the same time they're not really. They're still kind of gritty and have their own messages to talk about. Grand Theft Auto 5 looks like it's going to be more lighthearted, which I don't mind. It's going to be nice going back to San Andreas, but for what this is, I think this game, it needs to get a little bit more respect from the Grand Theft Auto community just because it's such a great exploration of the series up to that point. So I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. My only real issue with it was, I guess I'll say, some of the world map is kind of bland. Like, the last island you unlock is just really boring. It's just a bunch of industrial parks that aren't really fun to look around. And the plot kind of takes a while to get going. You do a lot of, like, busy work towards the beginning. And also, I guess, some of the friendship stuff is kind of annoying. Even though you can technically turn that off in the menu, it really shouldn't be in a Grand Theft Auto game. I don't get why I'm forced to do mini games to retain relationships with people or get benefits. I just think that was kind of tacked on, and they kind of threw it in for the sake of throwing it in. But overall, I love this game, especially for the online, which is kind of dead in all modes but the free mode. But I highly encourage you to get this if you haven't already.